The small red scanner light did not grant me access, but I did not feel a single drop of fear. While everyone else in the building lived in constant dread of sudden layoffs, I stood before the glass doors with complete composure. Security Chief Doyle approached me with a sneer, eager to drag me toward the executive office. He assumed I was just another panicked employee about to lose her livelihood. Doyle marched me down the carpeted hallway past dozens of anxious co-workers who refused to make eye contact. They smelled blood in the air, assuming my 12 years of service were ending in total disgrace. My boss Harrison Thorne sat behind a massive oak desk flanked by corporate lawyers. He offered a condescending smile before announcing that my services were no longer required. He thought he was tossing out garbage. Harrison offered me 2 weeks of severance if I signed a non-disclosure agreement immediately. He believed a modest payout would buy my silence regarding his financial manipulations. I refused the money and stepped out of the skyscraper without showing an ounce of regret. They treated me like a harmless administrator, completely unaware that my plastic security badge hid a far deeper purpose. My departure was not a defeat, but a planned trigger. Inside my quiet apartment, I moved a heavy wooden cabinet to access a hidden compartment behind the closet wall. Stacks of physical ledgers and documented invoices filled the space, recording years of systematic embezzlement. Digital files can be erased or corrupted, but physical paper remains solid proof. Harrison assumed I spent 12 years organizing holiday parties, oblivious to the meticulous shadow audit I was running on his shell companies right under his nose. I powered up an encrypted laptop to monitor the company servers through a secret access point. Doyle was already using crude administrative commands to erase my digital footprint and user credentials. His clumsy cleanup attempts actually generated detailed deletion logs that proved consciousness of guilt. Every time they tried to wipe my record, they left clear electronic footprints showing someone was desperately covering up massive financial crimes. Months earlier, Harrison signed a vendor agreement with an entity named Viridian Contracting. He believed it was just another fraudulent account to funnel federal funds into offshore holdings. However, I inserted mandatory compliance clauses into that contract requiring automated off-site communication backups. By signing that document without reading the details, my arrogant supervisor legally authorized continuous digital surveillance of his own internal correspondence and messages. I placed a brief call to Agent Callahan using a disposable phone to confirm my cover was officially blown. He asked if we should launch the raid immediately, but I advised patience. I wanted Harrison and his inner circle to celebrate their apparent victory over the weekend. Arrogance makes corrupt executives reckless, and 2 extra days would give them enough confidence to make fatal administrative mistakes. My mind drifted back 5 years to a high-profile industry charity gala where Harrison bragged to younger executives. He openly boasted that federal auditors lacked the resources to catch padded logistics expenses. He patted my shoulder and called me a loyal assistant who was not smart enough to ask dangerous questions. That arrogant insult solidified my resolve to ensure every single illegal transaction was recorded for federal prosecutors. By Tuesday morning, panic engulfed the executive suite as Harrison hired an inexperienced technician to wipe the primary servers. Through an old security camera feed, I watched Doyle shout orders while the young technician ran crude deletion scripts. The sloppy procedure slowed network performance to a crawl. They were not destroying the actual forensic evidence. They were merely removing shortcut links while leaving raw data blocks intact on the drives. To escalate their confusion, I remotely activated a small script in a forgotten network directory. The sudden data spike made the technician believe an active breach was taking place. Panic surged through the office, leading the technician to pull the physical power cables and shut down all corporate communications. They had completely blinded themselves, halting invoice processing and leaving the entire firm completely paralyzed. While the office remained dark, I mailed a detailed compliance document directly to their primary government client. Shortly afterward, a well-known investigative blog published an article detailing fraudulent logistics billing at a regional contractor. The client immediately froze all pending payments to the firm. Harrison spiraled into desperation as high-ranking political contacts refused to return his urgent phone calls. When Harrison attempted to blame his personal secretary Brenda for missing invoices, She gathered her belongings and walked out. I sent her a secure text offering legal protection if she met with federal investigators. Realizing her boss was preparing to make her a scapegoat, she agreed to cooperate fully. With his trusted assistant testifying against him, the protective wall surrounding the executive office completely collapsed. I returned to headquarters and walked calmly through the front doors without an active pass. Doyle rushed into the lobby shouting threats and threatening physical removal. Instead of backing away, I pulled out my official federal credentials and presented the polished gold shield. Doyle stared at the badge in utter disbelief, his face turning pale as he realized the true identity of the woman he had escorted out days before. I instructed Doyle to inform Harrison that he had exactly 1 hour to contact federal prosecutors and surrender. Minutes later, 4 federal vehicles pulled up to the main entrance as Agent Callahan led an operational team inside. Agents quickly secured the server room while we marched directly into the executive suite. The splintered wooden door fell open, revealing Harrison sitting in total defeat surrounded by open alcohol bottles. I placed the comprehensive evidence file on his desk, containing recorded phone calls, verified bank transfers, and detailed ledger entries. Harrison looked up in disbelief, asking how an administrator could orchestrate such a massive investigation. I reminded him that underestimating quiet people is always a fatal error. Federal agents placed him in handcuffs and led him away through the silent office floor. Agent Callahan offered me a new undercover assignment investigating fraudulent government defense contracts in another state. I declined the offer, choosing instead to step away from federal fieldwork entirely after 12 exhausting years. I answered a few brief questions from my former co-worker Teresa, encouraging her to seek employment elsewhere before leaving the quiet building behind forever. In the lobby, Doyle stood holding a cardboard box containing his personal belongings, completely stripped of his authority. I handed him my federal credentials so he could turn them over to the remaining agents on site. As Harrison was escorted past us toward a waiting patrol vehicle, he asked who would manage the upcoming financial audit. I simply laughed and kept walking toward the bright afternoon sunlight. I drove away from the corporate plaza with the windows down, feeling a profound sense of freedom. 12 years of careful undercover work had successfully brought down a corrupt system built on greed and arrogance. True power does not rely on loud threats or executive titles. Patience, meticulous preparation, and quiet determination will always dismantle even the most elaborate structures of deception.